So good evening class. Today we will start with the chapter we left before the vacation, that was free consent. Okay, I have completed planning. Okay, I have provided you with the videos, I guess, and if you are having any queries then please you can ask me. Okay. And next is that today we'll start with the chapter free consent and we'll complete the chapter. Okay, so let's just begin with it. We'll try to complete the syllabus, but I don't know how much it is possible. But yes, I can tell you something, that all my classes like this free consent and all these chapters have already been uploaded months back. Okay, so you can do those classes as well. If you feel like doing, then you can do those classes as well. Okay, it's something informal, it shouldn't happen, but you can do those classes because of this time restriction and the sudden lockdown and all this pandemic situation. That's it. Okay, for your benefit. Okay. Free, okay, just let me know whether I have provided you with the notes of free consent or not. I don't remember it. Anyways, if I haven't provided, then I will provide it. Okay, any student just inform me that yes, I have provided or not. Okay, so last it was coercion. We talked about coercion. What was coercion? Coercion means anything which is physically related, right? Anything which is physically related means any act which is involving any physical thing. Means I am forcing someone to enter into a contract. I am forcing someone to enter into a contract. That is coercion. And when we talk about undue influence, we are talking about mental dominance. We are talking about mental dominance. Means when we are in a position to dominate someone. Right? Is that correct? Okay, so the basic difference, if I ask you, between coercion and undue influence was that in coercion, there can be a third party who is being threatened. Means we can use the name of third party to threaten, right? Suppose what is the contract? Means if suppose Vicky and Salman is threatening Vicky to sell his land. If Vicky is not signing the paper, if Vicky doesn't sign the paper, then Salman will kidnap his wife. So the wife is the third party. But Salman is using the name of the wife. So in coercion, we can use it. But in case of undue influence, the dominance should work between the parties to the contract. The dominance must work between the parties to the contract. Clear? Is it clear? The dominance must work between the parties to the contract. Means if this person wants that this person signs the contract paper, then this person must be in a position. This person must be in a position to what? To dominate this person. Clear? Okay, so this is coercion and undue influence. So we are clear about this coercion and undue influence. Okay, now let's move on to the next thing. Let's move on. Okay, before this let me talk about something. That is, we know about the Parda Nashin woman. Parda Nashin. Don't think about this song. Parda hai parda. Not. We are not talking about that. Oh, what spelling I wrote. Parda Nashin woman. We know about them, right? Those who are in burqas. Okay, fully covered. Now, means court have assumed, or court assumes, I don't know what, but court assumes that these women, these Parda Nashin women are mentally dominated, right? Just don't take it in some other way. There are reasons why they are in the Parda, and whatever it is, that is totally religion based. They have their opinions, but the court assumes. Not here, but in interiors. In interiors, actually women are tortured. Whether it's Parda Nashin or whether it's without Parda, women are tortured in several manners that we don't know. Staying in this city, we cannot assume also. We people have the freedom. To enjoy every occasion, every festive. Every religion is our religion here. And we celebrate everything. Starting from Eid, starting from Christmas, starting from everything. Whether you are Bengali, whether you are Christian, whether you are Muslim, whatever it is. But in West Bengal, we celebrate every occasion. But in interiors or in places, several places, these women are actually being tortured. So court gives them a special advantage that if you are entering into a contract with a Parda Nashin woman, in that case, if you are entering, then it is the duty of the other person to prove that no undue influence has been made, means no dominance has been made on her to enter or to sign the contract paper. So this is just a concept which you must know. So that's why that is what Parda Nashin woman. Okay, so the burden of proof, that is proving the fact that no dominance is working on her, that fact that the burden of proof lies to the other person, lies on the other person who is entering into a contract with the Parda Nashin woman. Clear? So here we complete about coercion, undue influence. Now the next that we will start today is what? Fraud. Next that we start today is fraud. Now what is fraud? Fraud kora, আমি যখনই বলি fraud করছে মানেই there is something which is hampering some person, which is hampering the interest of some person, which is causing some loss to some person. That is fraud. So the fraud so the fraud means what? There must be an intention, there must be an willing intention, willingfully we are doing something, that is there must be an intention. This is known as mens rea. This is known as mens rea, means an intention to deceive the other person, an intention to deceive the other person. So fraud only happens at the time when this person's intention is deceiving this person, when this person's intention is deceiving this person's. জেনে বুঝে যদি চাই যে এই মানুষটার ক্ষতি হোক, if I'm wanting that this person suffers knowingly, then it amounts to fraud. So fraud is willful representation. It is a willful, means by knowing, we know before doing that representation, before making that person enter into the contract, we know that if the person signs the contract, the person will suffer, and I want that only. That is fraud. Correct? That is fraud. Now the question might come that ma'am, suppose that a situation may arise that when people stay silent for on any instance or any circumstances, when people stay silent, then whether silence amounts to fraud? Yes, মানে কি বলছি আমি, তো চুপ করে থাকা, আমি আই এম আস্কিং ইউ সামথিং বাট তুই চুপ করে আছিস, বাট দিস whether this silence amounts to fraud, this can be a question. And of course silence amounts to fraud when speaking is mandatory, is important. At certain circumstances it is important to speak, to say the truth, and if at that point of time you are not speaking the truth, if at that point of time you are not speaking the truth, then that silence amounts to fraud. But where silence is itself equals to speech, in that case, where silence is itself equivalent to speech, in that case it doesn't amount to fraud. Correct? But where speaking is mandatory, at that point of time তুমি চুপ করে রয়েছো, in that case it is fraud. So 3 things we got to know. One was coercion, one was undue influence, and these two have some similarity. One is mental, one is physical. And next is what? Fraud. Fraud is what? It is something we are doing willingly to deceive the other person, means there is an intention, mens rea, this means an intention. Mens rea means an intention to deceive. Is it clear? Okay, so now we'll talk about some contracts where person knowing the material facts must speak, means there are certain contracts in which person must speak if the person is knowing what are the important material facts, where keeping silent will amount to fraud. So these contracts are known as contracts of uberrimi fidei. What? Contracts of uberrimi fidei means absolute good faith, means for these contracts of uberrimi fidei, for these contracts speaking is mandatory. For these contracts speaking the truth is mandatory. So what are the contracts of uberrimi fidei? The contracts are, Under this contract of Virumi Fide comes number 1, contracts of insurance. And you know that very well, whenever you are insuring something, excuse me, whenever you are insuring something, the details is needed, it is necessary to give to the person who is your insurer, right? If you are insuring your house, or if you are insuring health insurance or whatever, you have to give the details of everything. Means if you are doing a health insurance, a mediclaim, whatever, you need to give what are the disease you are suffering from, or what are the problems you are having. All the details needs to be given, because when the coverage, they will provide you with the coverage, if at that point of time something they find that you have hidden, you will not get the coverage as well, and this might hamper your total health insurance policy or whatever it is. So here, if you keep silent, in that case it amounts to fraud. Contracts of insurance, and insurer can even avoid the policy. Suppose তুই একটা বাড়ির ইন্স্যুরেন্স করছিস, এবার you have not disclosed a very important matter, that is the house is situated beside a petrol pump. Now you know it's a risky area, we consider that it is a risky area. So if sometimes it so happens that the house is on fire because of this petrol pump burst or whatever it is, in that case the insurer will not have, তুই বলতে পারিস ম্যাম physical verification হয় and all everything, but it is your duty to disclose the fact, because we all know what work takes place and what verification happens. So disclosing is your duty, so that the policy what you are making, for which you are giving premium, you get the coverage at the right point of time. And if you are at fault, then you cannot blame anyone, right? So contracts of insurance. Next, number 2, under this contract of Virumi Fide comes, next comes is contract for the sale of immovable property. Contract for the sale of immovable property. Now you know that whenever we are entering into a contract for the sale of immovable property, proper disclosure of every element is necessary. Where is the property, how is the property, and whatever. Suppose একটা জমি আমি কিনতে গেছি, আমি জমিদার থেকে কিনতে গেছি, সে জানে যে ওই জমিতে কোনোদিন বাড়ি করা যাবে না, বিকজ ওটা ডোবা ছিল। It was a pond kind of thing. It was like ওখানে যদি আমি বিল্ডিং করি, it might so happen that the building might sink. Okay, so the land might means হয় যে ডোবার ওপরে, ডোবা জমিতে জায়গা মানে বাড়ি করা, it's a risk. হ্যাঁ, ভরে ভরে অনেক সময় হয়, বাট there is a risk. So এটা বললো না, সাপোজ এই ইম্পর্টেন্ট ইনফরমেশনটা ডিসক্লোজ হলো না, আমি জমিটা কিনে নিলাম, আমি বাড়ি করলাম, কিছু বছর পর হয়তো এমন দেখলাম যে বাড়িটার কন্ডিশন ধীরে ধীরে ডেটোরিয়েট করছে। ওকে, তো ইন দ্যাট কেস it is fraud if you are not speaking. So whenever we are entering into a contract of immovable property, for the sale of immovable property, we need to disclose everything. Number 3 is allotment of shares. Now we all know whenever the company comes with share issue, giving the details in the prospectus is necessary. Like when you have entered the college for admission, you have been given a prospectus where you could see every details of the college. Before admission only you can take that prospectus when you're filling the form and everything. Why this prospectus? This prospectus gives you the details about the college, the details about the department you are going to study, and every other thing, the fees and everything. Similarly, whenever the company comes out with share issue, why the company is issuing the shares, why the company is taking the money from the public, the reason is needed to be given to the public. Then only the public will invest, right? So in that part, if you are hiding some material, means important fact, in that case also it amounts to fraud. If you are keeping silent, it amounts to fraud. Okay. Number 4 is family settlement. Now in case of any family settlement, any agreement between family, anything related to any material fact, meaning related to any mutual agreement, the important things must be disclosed. Otherwise, either family will remain or family will not remain, because relationships are very crucial and it should be handled with care, right? So this. Okay, another one is contract of marriage. In this also, disclosing all the details is important. right? So what are the contracts of verime fide? Contracts of insurance, contract for the sale of immovable property, allotment of shares, family settlement, contract of marriage. Several other contracts are also there where speaking is mandatory, where it is a duty to speak. So number 2, the number 2 contract is contract of partnership. Now in contract of partnership also, you need that the partners should speak mutually, should speak the truth. It is necessary. If any of the partner remains silent, then it will amount to fraud in future if anything happens, right? So speaking is mandatory. Speaking is mandatory, right? Number 3 comes as what? Contract of guarantee. Number 3 is contract of guarantee. Now what is this contract of guarantee? In guarantee contract, there is a relationship involving trust. There is a trust coming into, okay? There is sometimes it happens that like a bank gives us loan if some other person gives guarantee on behalf of that person. So here is a trust relationship is being involved. In that case, if you're hiding something, that will of course amount to fraud. Okay, and in case of fraud, the contract becomes what? Voidable. I've told you that in case of coercion, undue influence, fraud and misrepresentation, for these 4 cases, the contracts becomes voidable, and only in case of mistake the contracts becomes what? Void. That is null, empty. Correct? Number 4, in case of any fiduciary relationship means the relationship like between doctor patient, the relationship between client and solicitor, or in all this relationship also, disclosing the material facts, important facts, and staying silent where there is necessary to talk is not happening. Right? You should do it. Okay, I forgot to wish you all a very happy new year and all the best for your upcoming examination. This is going to be your first examination in the college, and all the best to all of you. Okay, anyways, next, number 5. No more. Okay, I've completed this. So what are this? The contracts of verime fide we talked about. There are contracts where speaking is absolute mandatory when it is necessary. So first comes the contracts of verime fide, where under this contract there are contract of insurance for sale of immovable property. Next, what? Allotment of shares, contract for marriage, family settlement. Number 2 is contract of partnership, fiduciary relationship, contracts of guarantee. So all this, in these 4 types of contract, speaking is mandatory and keeping silent is not at all happening. Not at all. Okay, so the next thing we will talk about is misrepresentation. Now the next thing we will talk about is misrepresent. What I'm writing of vacation mode. Misrepresentation. Okay, so students, you should stay safe. Please don't go out if it is not absolutely necessary. Take care of your family as well. Stay protected. Use mask. It's a request. This COVID is very dangerous. I have suffered. Last year I have suffered from this. My whole family suffered, and it's not, people are thinking that people are making joke of the thing that it's a business, but if it happens, it's dangerous. It will just deteriorate your health in such a way that you will not understand. Even till now I'm recovering, means I'm still suffering from things that I have never suffered before. I have my immunity power, everything is so down. Like whatever is happening is just catching cough and cold. This, that is happening easily. It's happening. This never used to happen before COVID. So just take good care of yourself and your family. Of course, go out, because staying inside home is actually very difficult. Our mentality, means everything, we are getting frustrated, depressed, using phones and everything doesn't work. Meeting people is necessary, but yeah, maintain a distance. Try to at least maintain a distance. Try to go out a little less. Of course go out, but a little less, and use mask, sanitizers, because in the upcoming exams, again there will be a CU exam. At least be healthy enough and to attend the first examination of your college life. Okay, chalo. Misrepresentation. Now, what is misrepresentation? In fraud, we talked about mens rea. In fraud, we talked about the intention to deceive someone else. But in misrepresentation, there is no intention. মানে ভুলবশত হয়ে যাচ্ছে. Like, I was also sure about the fact. that this is the thing. But after entering into the contract, I also got to know that no, this is not the thing. And for that, the other party is suffering. So when I am not doing something intentionally, but the other party is suffering without my any intention to make him or her suffer, in that case, this amounts to misrepresentation. When I myself is not sure, I myself is also means not sure means I myself is sure about the fact, and I am making this fact only understand to the other party, and for that we are entering into a contract. But after entering into a contract, the party is suffering from any loss. In that case, what is happening? It is called misrepresentation. Two types there are misrepresentation. One is unwarranted as statements, and another one is breach of duty. Means if I am not doing my duty, I am violating my duty for which other party is suffering, but I have violated my duty not to make the other party suffer, but the other party have suffered. So in that case, it is misrepresentation. But in case of unwarranted statement, means I am making some positive statement because I am sure about the positive statement. That's why I am making the positive statement. But for that positive statement, the other party is suffering. So in that case also, it is misrepresentation. So here there is no mens rea. There is no intention to deceive. আমি চাই না অন্য পার্টি সাফার করুক, আমার ইন্টেনশন এটা নয়, বাট কিন্তু আমি যেই কথাটা বলছি সেটার ব্যাপারে আমি নিজেই জানি যে এটাই সত্যি, কিন্তু পরে দেখছি সত্যিটা অন্য, তার জন্য অপোজিট পার্টি সাফার করছে. That is misrepresentation. So have you understand the basic difference between all this? So fraud involves mens rea, but misrepresentation does not involve mens rea. In coercion, there is physical thing. In undue influence, there is mental thing. Okay, so this is now the next thing that we will study, and this is the last part of the chapter, that is mistake. And in case of mistake, what happens? I've already told you what happens in case of mistake. The contract becomes void. For all the first four, is it visible? Wait. Okay, for all the first four things, the contract becomes voidable. Means the party can set aside the contract. In case of mistake, the contract is not able to perform only. It becomes unable to perform. So contract becomes void in case of mistake. Okay, so what happens in case of mistake? Let's just see what happens. Mistakes are of two types. Mistake of law and mistake are of two types: mistake of law and mistake of fact. Mistake of law and mistake of fact. Again, mistake of law is divided into two types. One is Indian law, mistake as to Indian law, and another one is mistake as to foreign law. Now I will give you a very small example, and sheta shunle you will understand the difference between mistake as to Indian law and mistake as to foreign law. Acha. Okay. In case of let's just give you the example, then only you will understand the difference between mistake of law which involves Indian law and mistake of law which involves foreign law. You all stay in your home, whatever. So what happens, sometimes hote pare na je ma amake bolche বাড়িতে রিলেটিভস এসছে, গেস্ট রিলেটিভস এসছে, মা আমাকে বলছে, মা তোদেরকে বলছে বা তোকে কাউকে বলছে, মেয়েদেরকে বা ছেলেদেরকে কাউকে বলছে যে কি যে whatever your name is, suppose whatever, just bring this, এইটা নিয়ে আয়, রান্নাঘর থেকে একটা কৌটো বা whatever বা ডিশ প্লেট whatever জাস্ট গিয়ে বার কর, বিকজ গেস্টদেরকে খেতে দিতে হবে বা whatever সার্ভ করতে হবে, কিছু খাবার দিতে হবে। তো তুই কোথায় থাকিস বাড়িতে? ওকে, so এবার your mother is telling you to just arrange the plates in which food will be served to the guests. Now you have no idea where the plates are kept. ইউ হ্যাভ নো আইডিয়া, বিকজ তুই তো কোনো কাজ করিস না বাড়িতে, তুই বাড়িতেই থাকিস, ওই বাড়িতেই তুই ছোটোবেলা থেকে বড় হয়েছিস, বাট তুই কিন্তু বাড়ির কিচ্ছু জানিস না, কোথায় প্লেট রাখা আছে, কোন প্লেটে এলে গেস্টদেরকে খেতে দিতে হয়, কী করতে হয় না। তুই কী করলি, বাড়ির প্লেটে যেগুলো তোরা খাস সেগুলোই অ্যারেঞ্জ সাজিয়ে রেখে দিলি। তো মা যখন রান্নাঘরে এসে দেখবে তখন মা কী করবে, মা তো নিশ্চয়ই ইমপ্রেসড হবে না, উল্টে কী করবে, একটা চড় থাপ্পড় বসিয়ে দেবে, রাইট? বা বিশাল একটা চিৎকার করবে, বা চিৎকার করতে পারবে না, বাড়িতে গেস্ট আছে, একটা চড় থাপ্পড় মেরে দেবে, যে কিচ্ছু জানিস না তুই, কোথায় কী করতে হয়। সো দিস ইজ মিস্টেক অফ ইন্ডিয়ান ল। মিস্টেক অ্যাজ টু মানে মিস্টেক অফ ল উইচ ইনভলভস ইন্ডিয়ান ল। আমি ইন্ডিয়াতে আছি, ইন্ডিয়ান লয়ের ব্যাপারে জানি না, কন্ট্রাক্ট তো ভয়েড হয়ে যাচ্ছে, বাট ইট কামস উইথ কনসিকুয়েন্সেস। কন্ট্রাক্ট ভয়েড হয়ে গেল, বাট ইট কামস উইথ হোয়াট কনসিকুয়েন্সেস, ভয়েড প্লাস কনসিকুয়েন্সেস। বাট ইন কেস অফ ফরেন ল, তুই অন্য কারোর বাড়িতে গেছিস, সেই অন্য কারোর বাড়িতে গিয়ে তোকে ধরো হয়তো কাকিমা বা হোয়াট এভার ইউর মাদার ইজ সেইং দ্যাট গো অ্যান্ড হেল্প সামওয়ান, বা তুই তো ওই বাড়িতে থাকিস নি, তুই জানিস না, তো সেখানে গিয়ে যদি তুই কিছু ভুল করিস, অফকোর্স দ্য কন্ট্রাক্ট বিকামস ভয়েড, বাট নো কনসিকুয়েন্স। Easy? Is it easy to understand? Mistake of law which involves Indian law. In case of Indian law, the contract becomes void, but there are consequences. In case of foreign law, the contract becomes void, but no consequences. বললাম না, একটা এক্সাম্পল দেবো, এর বেশি আর কিছু লাগবে না বুঝতে। নেক্সট, এবার চলে আসি মিস্টেকস অফ ফ্যাক্ট। Now, when the fact on the basis of which we are entering into the contract, if the facts are only misleading or whatever it happens that the subject matter destroys, in that case the contract becomes void. So mistake of fact is again divided into two types. One is bilateral mistake, another one is unilateral mistake. One is bilateral mistake, another one is unilateral mistake. So in case of bilateral mistake, what is happening means when two parties are under a mistake, means the parties entering, both the parties are unaware of the fact, they are both are at mistake. But in unilateral, only single party is at mistake. Okay, so let's talk about the bilateral mistake. What are the contracts on the bilateral mistake? Suppose mistake as to possibility of performing a contract. Mistake as to possibility of performing of a contract. Possibility of performing of a contract. Suppose কি হচ্ছে, let me give you an example which is like, just understand the, just relate it, okay? Suppose একটা ম্যারেজ ইনভিটেশন এসছে, ম্যারেজ ইনভিটেশনে তোরা গেছিস, তো ম্যারেজ ইনভিটেশনে কী হচ্ছে, বাড়ি ভাড়া হচ্ছে, সেখানে ম্যারেজ হবে, সেখানে সবাই আসবে, বাট হোয়াট হ্যাপেন্স, যে যাদের বিয়ে হবে তার মধ্যে মেয়েটা পালিয়ে গেছে। সো রিসেপশন, আমার ডেট অফ ম্যারেজ, আমার হল সিলেকশন সব রেডি, আমার কন্ট্রাক্ট এন্টার হয়ে গেছে যে এই দিনের জন্য আমি হলটা নিচ্ছি, বুক করছি, বাট যেই ফাংশনটার জন্য বুক করছি, যেই দিন হওয়ার কথা সেই দিন দেখছি বউ পালিয়ে চলে গেছে, মানে দ্য উড বি পালিয়ে চলে গেছে অন্য কারোর সাথে, বা হোয়াট এভার পালিয়ে চলে গেছে, তাহলে কি পারফর্ম করা ইজ পসিবল? সো দ্য মিস্টেক ওয়াজ ফ্রম বোথ দ্য সাইড, যে কন্ট্রাক্টে আমরা বাড়ির লোক যারা এন্টার করেছি তারাও জানতাম না যে ওই দিন ওরকম হবে, আর যারা কন্ট্রাক্ট আমাদেরকে দিয়েছে, যারা হলটা আমাদেরকে দিয়েছে তারাও জানতো না। সো বোথ দ্য পার্টিজ আর এট ফল্ট অ্যান্ড দ্য কন্ট্রাক্ট বিকামস ভয়েড। অফকোর্স আমার টাকা খরচ হয়ে গেল, হোয়াট এভার, বাট অ্যাকচুয়ালি কি কন্ট্রাক্ট এক্সিকিউশন বা এভরিথিং বিকাম সাকসেসফুল? নো, যে পারপাস কিছুই হলো না। সো দিস ইজ কল্ড mistake as to possibility of performing a contract. But suppose I am hiring some singer to sing in your fresher party. এটা আমি আগেও ক্লাসেও বলেছি, but suppose that singer gets ill or gets hospitalized before the day of your fresher. In that case the contract becomes void, because আমি তো সিঙ্গারটাকে হসপিটালের বেড থেকে তুলে নিয়ে এসে গান গাওয়াবো না, রাইট? So mistake as to possibility of performing a contract. Now coming to mistake as to the subject matter. If the subject matter is only wrong, mistake as to subject matter. Suppose Mr. X বলেছে Y কে, Mr. X বলেছে Y কে 20 শার্ট পাঠাতে, একটা লেটারে লিখে দিয়েছে 20 শার্ট পাঠাতে, কিন্তু Y কি করেছে, 20টাকে 200 পড়েছে, পরে 200 শার্ট পাঠিয়েছে। সো মিস্টার এক্সকে অ্যাকসেপ্ট করবে না, বিকজ মিস্টার এক্সের রিকোয়ারমেন্ট ছিল 20 শার্ট. সো হিয়ার দ্য সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার ইজ অনলি অ্যাট কনফিউশন. What is the subject matter? In that case also the contract becomes void. Okay. Regarding the existence of subject matter also happen. What existence means? If the subject matter only doesn't exist, existence of subject matter. এই যে আমি আগে বলেছিলাম যে কি যে আমি সাপোজ ধর আমি অন্য কাউকে, তোদের মধ্যে কাউকে ধর, তারও নামে এস দিয়ে স্টার্ট হচ্ছে, আই এম ট্রাইং টু সেল মাই কার, আই এম এন্টারিং ইন্টু আ কন্ট্রাক্ট টু সেল মাই কার টু দিস S1 is selling the car to S2. ওকে, নাও S1 যে গাড়িটা সেটা রাখা আছে ব্যাঙ্গালোরেও বাড়ির গ্যারেজে রাখা আছে. সো আমি কলকাতায় বসে কন্ট্রাক্টে করছি যে আমি ওই গাড়িটা S2কে সেল আউট করে দেবো, বাট কন্ট্রাক্ট করে নিলাম কিন্তু গাড়িটাই গ্যারেজটা পুড়ে গেল, গাড়িও নষ্ট হয়ে গেল. ইন দ্যাট কেস আমার যে কন্ট্রাক্টের যে সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য কার ইজ অনলি নট এক্সিস্টেন্স নাও, দের ইজ নো এক্সিস্টেন্স অফ দ্য কার, ইট ইজ নট এক্সিস্টিং. ইন দ্যাট কেস তাহলে কিসের কন্ট্রাক্ট ভয়েড হয়ে গেল. অ্যান্ড উই ডিডন্ট হ্যাভ এনি আইডিয়া বোথ অফ আস যে ওরকম গ্যারেজটা ওইভাবে বর্ন হয়ে যাবে বা জ্বলে যাবে, আগুন লেগে যাবে. উই ডিডন্ট হ্যাভ দি আইডিয়া. কারেক্ট. রিগার্ডিং দি আইডেন্টিটি অফ দি সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার, আমি বললাম এক, আমাকে দিল আরেক. ওই যে আইডেন্টিটি, আমি কন্ট্রাক্ট করতে চাইছি, এক্স কন্ট্রাক্ট করতে চাইছে টু পারচেজ ফ্ল্যাট এ, আর ওয়াই ভাবছে এক্স কিনতে চাইছে ফ্ল্যাট বি. সো দের ইজ আ কনফিউশন অ্যাবাউট দি আইডেন্টিটি. রাইট. বা এরকমও হতে পারে যে এক্স ইজ প্ল্যানিং টু পারচেজ সুন্দরম হাউস. এবার দেয়ার আর 2 সুন্দরম হাউস. এবার এক্স যেই সুন্দরম হাউসটা চাইছে সেইটাতে ও কন্ট্যাক্ট না করে, তার মালিককে কন্ট্যাক্ট না করে, ও এই সুন্দরম হাউসের মালিককে কন্ট্যাক্ট করেছে. সো দেয়ার ইজ আ কনফিউশন রিগার্ডিং দি আইডেন্টিটি অফ দি সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার. রাইট. দেন regarding the title of the subject matter, of course there is also say title of the subject matter. কি হচ্ছে, সাপোজ আমার এক্স হচ্ছে সাপোজ কারোর গ্র্যান্ডফাদার, আমার না, সাপোজ কারোর গ্র্যান্ডফাদার. এবার গ্র্যান্ডফাদার নয়, সাপোজ কারোর ফাদারই ধরে নেয়. অ্যান্ড ওয়াই অ্যান্ড জেড হচ্ছে সান, দুজন সান. এবার জেড থাকে বিদেশে, ওয়াই থাকে বাবার কাছে. এবার জেড বিদেশ থেকে এসে ভাবছে যা প্রপার্টি বাবা সেটা তো ওয়াই এরই. সো জেড ওয়ান্টস টু পারচেজ আ প্রপার্টি ফ্রম ওয়াই. বাট এরা দুজনেই জানে না যে ফাদার অলরেডি ওই প্রপার্টিটাই জেডের নামে করে রেখেছে. সো হিয়ার দের ইজ আ কনফিউশন রিগার্ডিং দ্য টাইটেল. সো ওয়েন এভার ওয়াই অ্যান্ড জেড ইজ এন্টারিং টু দ্য কন্ট্রাক্ট, it becomes void because already the property is in the name of Z. So whenever they're talking about the contract also it is void. Then mistake as to the quality of the subject matter. দেখ সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার নিয়ে কতগুলো, একটা আইডেন্টিটি, একটা এক্সিস্টেন্স, একটা টাইটেল, একটা কোয়ালিটি. আবার আসবে কোয়ান্টিটি অফ দ্য সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার, আবার আসবে প্রাইস অফ দি সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার. মানে সব কিছু নিয়েই মিস্টেক. সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার. কোয়ালিটি মিনস আমি চাইলাম জুটের ব্যাগ, আমাকে পাঠালো কটন ব্যাগস, I won't accept. Now next comes quantity. I asked for 20 jute bags, they send me 200 jute bags. I won't accept. The contract becomes void. There is a mistake for any reason. Price, I wanted the jute bags for rupees 20 each, but they have told me that it will be costing 25 each. So I thought that it will be 20 only because I have purchased it earlier from some other place, but here they are charging 25. So there is a wrong thing I assumed. ওকে, সো যে সেলার সেও ভাবছে আমি 25 টাকা দেবো, কিন্তু আমি ভাবছি আমি 20 টাকা দেবো. দেয়ার ইজ আ কনফিউশন ওয়ার্কিং রিগার্ডিং দ্য প্রাইস অফ দি সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার, অ্যান্ড সো দ্য কন্ট্রাক্ট ইজ নট পসিবল, ইট বিকামস ভয়েড. ডান. These are the contracts which comes under mistake as to the subject matter. Mistake as to means bilateral mistake. Now comes the unilateral mistake. Now what is unilateral mistake? Means one party is at fault. Now there is a very good example, means I have used it always. This example is not good, but it's like something catchy one, or something we see in cinemas and movies. So number one is mistake as to the identity of the party. of the parties. This example, whenever I've talked in class, it was like it was a vibe while talking this example, and people and students enjoyed it. Why, I don't know, but this is tragic, but whatever it is. Mistake as to the identity of the parties. Now let me tell you a story to make you understand this concept. The mistake as to the identity of a party is what? Suppose there is a big businessman. Okay, you will see all these concepts in cinemas. There is a big businessman. Now the big businessman is having one gharwali and one baharwali. Now you understand that one wife, one girlfriend. Okay. Now what happens one day? Just listen to the story very carefully to understand the concept. Now one day, so the businessman is quite clear about the fact that this one is gharwali and this one is baharwali. Now one day the businessman is sitting in a park with the baharwali, of course, and gharwali calls the businessman. Now in order to avoid the situation and circumstance, the businessman suddenly, just to impress his wife, the businessman says that you go, I have a surprise for you. You go to this shop, gold jewelry shop, and I have kept a surprise for you. Just tell my name and that shopkeeper will give you your surprise. So wife gets very much overwhelmed and whatever it is, and wife cuts the phone. Then the businessman is also relaxed, and now the businessman is enjoying the time with Baharwali. But in the meantime, when the businessman was talking about that surprise and all, the Baharwali was listening to every bit of it. Okay, বাইরের যে বসছিল পাশে সে সব কিছু শুনেছে. Now immediately after this thing is over, before the businessman wife reached the shopkeeper, this Baharwali reached the shopkeeper and said his name and took the surprise. Now here, the businessman knows the shopkeeper knows the businessman, but the shopkeeper was not aware of the fact that the businessman is having two women, means one is Gharwali and Baharwali. Businessman was not aware of the fact that who is the wife of that person, businessman. Not the businessman. The shopkeeper was not aware of the fact that who is the wife of the businessman. So in that case, who is it at mistake? The shopkeeper, and the shopkeeper gives the surprise to the Baharwali instead of giving it to the Gharwali. So in that case, what is happening? A unilateral mistake. Now you can say here reviving or whatever. No, there is no chance. But there are certain cases or contracts where this happens, that due to some mistake, the identity of the parties, due to the mistake of the identity of the parties, the contract gets void. So this was the story just to make you understand the concept. Means এখানে ভুলটা কিন্তু শপকিপারের নয়. Shopkeeper was at mistake because shopkeeper had no idea যে বিজনেসম্যানের ওয়াইফ কি. শপকিপারকে বলা আছে আমার ওয়াইফ আসবে, এসে আমার নাম বলবে, তুমি দিয়ে দেবে। আর এখানে পাশের জন সেটা শুনে গিয়ে সেই ওটা করেছে, আর সেম যা বলেছে তাই করেছে, শপকিপার দিয়ে দিয়েছে। So this is mistake as to the identity of the parties. Okay, so this is what this. Okay, another is mistake as to the nature of the transaction. Mistake as to the nature in under unilateral mistake. There is another one, mistake as to the nature of the transaction. As to the nature of the transaction. Okay, so now suppose nature of the transaction means we are not understanding. Suppose আমি বললাম আমার একটা land লিজে চাই, means it's on rent, kind of rent. But যাকে বললাম সে ভাবছে যে I want to purchase that land. So the nature of the transaction is only something that is being mistaken. Means the single person is only mistaking, that is a seller. সেলারকে আমি বলেছি আমি লিজে নিতে চাই, কিন্তু সেলার ভাবছে যে আমি ওটা পারচেজ করতে চাই. My intention is to purchase. So seller ভুল ভাবছে. Only one person is at mistake, that is the seller, not I. I know, I clearly know what I want. So in that case also it's a unilateral mistake. So in whatever mistake, means if it's a bilateral mistake, if it's a mistake of fact, or it's a mistake of law, whatever it is, in case of mistake the contract becomes void, and in case of fraud, coercion, misrepresentation, undue influence, the contract becomes voidable. That is, a parties could set aside the contract. But যেখানে সাবজেক্ট ম্যাটার ডিস্ট্রয় হয়ে যায়, যেখানে প্রাইজের গন্ডগোল, সেখানে আর কন্ট্রাক্টই থাকছে না, ভয়েডেবল এর গল্প নেই, কন্ট্রাক্টেই থাকছে না। ক্লিয়ার? Okay, So this completes my chapter free consent. In the next class, I will complete 2 chapters together. I will try to complete 2 chapters together. That is, one is legality of objects and consideration. Another one is void and voidable agreements. I will try. I'm not promising. After this 2 chapter, we will be left with another 2 chapter. Let's see what happens. If you could complete before 15 Jan, I don't know, I will try. Okay. So thank you, class.